Budgeting and saving can be sometimes so easy, and at the same time, it can be so hard for many to stick to the plan and be consistent in the long term. I think no one can function with the money without having a real budget. It could be that it's never been taught to you in your younger teenage adult year, but there's always a day and point where you can start for yourself. So I have exactly three steps for you where you can build your budgeting saving strategy. And it could be you already do something, but maybe that small little tip that I have for you hopefully can guide you to the success that you want to go with. For me, that's the three steps that work so well for me. It's easy, but at the same time, I want to just give that comment to you. There are things in the end that you have to do by your own. Because in the end, I don't know exactly where your weakness or your spots are that you're struggling. For me, the budgeting or the lifestyle in general, which this channel is about the minimalistic, simple way of living, it allows me to focus on things that are valued to me or that I want to put focus, creativity into it. So budgeting can be very consistent, but there can be life-changing things that you have to adjust this rule again, go a bit deeper in and make yourself familiar with the knowledge and in which phases you're struggling with. Welcome you back, beautiful soul, for another video on Ladies Mental. I'm Nina and I'm happy to see you here around. And if you see further videos of me or if you want to keep being updated, leave a subscription, like or comment down below. I'm so curious to get more in contact with you. So let's start with point number one, setting clear goals. In the first part, you're having kind of the three categories: long-term, mid-term, and short-term. For me, in the long term, that is retirement, investment, mortgages, even something that you have over several years or even way longer than that, and that is something that you work consistently on. But go with those three sections that I'm covering now in the first part, because it can structure your whole budgeting. You realize what is in each section, and from there you can prioritize your budgeting. Otherwise you're just going everywhere, and we want to keep it structured. In the midterm selection, I would have like a car, a wedding, education, things that cost you a bit more but are more frequently or in a shorter period of time as the high term. In the lower term, I have monthly savings, I have wishes, wants, some even daily things that I'm getting, but I want to categorize them as well, because the small things and the small habits can make the changes in the budget. So never leave them out. In that case, grab a notebook and take yourself the time to write those things down for you, and maybe even chat with a family or friend. Maybe you're missing out something, or watching a few other videos. The second thing is also, with the notebook that you're already grabbed out, is writing your goals down. You have to find now your three section: high, mid, and low term. The thing is with that goals, and they will make the consistency in the end. You familiar yourself with where you want to go and what is your accomplishment in the long run. And that's kind of like the point where you have that voice or motivation to keep in that track, to keep in that system, because we're getting tempted. But if that goal or that vision that you have for the long run is so clear and so strong, you're getting through that. And that can be not achieved like in a day. Sometimes you have to think a few more days or week till you get to that like light bulb effect or moment there where you have the clarity in it. So don't pressure yourself too much. And I think sometimes with the budgeting, it can also be like in the beginning of the year, but you can start over and over and over again with your budgeting. And that's one of the funniest part. You can adjust budget so quickly or to another lifestyle of yours, but keep just step by step. But the more familiar you are with the goals and the three terms that you have, the easier it is for the next two steps in the budgeting and saving consistently. And if you're struggling to find like a goal or to keep it in mind for yourself, write them down. Write them on a little sticky note, put them on your mirror or somewhere where you can see it every day, so you are exposed to it. You always think of it. And that comes also along with the third point in step number 1, is you have to target a deadline where you want to save something specifically or an amount that you want to save. That can be, for example, an emergency fund. Your goal is to save 5,000 in 12 months. That's your deadline. You have to accomplish it. So you can structure it down by week, by month, if you have to, even daily, to remind you. And if you stick to it and have like that plan in the long term, it is way easier. And if you're not just seeing that big amount of 5,000, you have to pay that in 1 week. No, you can structure it down to 5 to 10 quarterly, whatever you want to structure it on. But if you have that routine and that deadline, you have to be consistent. And it doesn't have to be like the emergency fund that I just mentioned now, but I do think everyone should have an emergency fund. For sure, I will make a video about that in the future. And if we're just already stuck with videos, I already brought a video out for my paycheck routine. I highly recommend you to watch that. I leave a link down in the description if you want to go and watch that out. Yeah, so that's step number 1. So categorize everything in those 3 terms. Write your saving goals and already have the deadlines that you want to accomplish, or the money, so to speak, you want to save. For step number 2, it's all a bit about the tracking and systems that you can build for your savings. For sure, you have already heard of the 50-30-20% rule, which is 50% is your fixed bills that you have, your fixed bills or payments that you need to be done. The 30% is your spending, so to speak, and the 20% is what you're saving for. You can also turn it upside down if the 20% is your spending and 30% is your saving. But I think that's a very good guidelines to go for. And me personally, I'm already like 50-50. I can live of 50% of my paycheck and all my bills are gonna be covered. That takes time to be so consistent and low maintenance of your whole expenses. And sometimes it even has also to do with what you're earning. But living below your means can give you something that you want to accomplish. For me personally, it's to retire early and have the freedom of spending my money and how I want to work in the future. But that's just something random that I want to put in the pot, but we are here at the start. So what I can highly suggest you is to track your money in any way. And especially if you're building that little routine, you're getting into the budgeting, it can be sometimes so hard to track it. So if your account already has like built-in jars or pots, use them to your advantage. They're the best thing that I can ever think of. Like one of my previous accounts didn't have that. So I had all the money in one account, and I just had it like, yeah, I save 800 and that's fine. The rest is kind of for spending here and there. I know how much it can take, but not that's naive. That's like the consistent you're not really getting. So you have to use and have that advantage with the jars, so that you can name the jars for different things, such as your emergency fund, your allowances that you give yourself for different categories, such as cosmetic, you have a sport subscription, anything like can be labeled. And I think that is important. If you try to think of anything that you can label, it can be hard sometimes in the beginning if you have to trigger all those parts of the spending, and it can be very overwhelming. But do it step by step, really. Those 3 steps doesn't mean you have to do that in one day. No, not at all. So pause the video, and as you already have the notebook, use it to your guidelines. That bird just shit in the air. So yeah, that's one way with the jars. But also what you can do, and I think that's almost the simplest way to do it, is have like a money tracker app on your phone or in the device that you use the most. Because then you can just click it, put the price in, and then it will show you the statistic and diagrams with the lifetime records that it has. Plus, on top of that, when I have like a fixed term deadline or goal that I want to achieve with the budgeting, I also make the Excel sheets. The Excel sheets or the document itself help me to really keep on track. And even if I put something out or I have to adjust it, it can be recorded. And that brings me so much structure. But I found the easier it gets, the easier steps that I take in the long run by tracking everything I do, the less chaotic it is. And I don't want to spend like years or month or even at the weekend just to track every money. So I do it like little portions. Every time I spend something, the money tracker. That's literally what I can give you as the biggest tip ever. And there are so many free options in the App Store or Apple Store, whatever you want to get them. You can even write them down if you want. But the easiest way for me budgeting is mostly online. If you're getting paid in cash, if you have the option to put it in your bank account, do so. Because if you're having it physically nearby, or just the temptation of getting it can be way, it's too easy. It's just too easy. So if it's just virtually there, you're getting less tempted. That's just another quick thing on the corner. Step number 3 is categorize the spending mindfully. With the mindful thing, it's a thing. When you're having your goals already written out, as mentioned in step number 1, you can go further or adjust your way of doing it. Something that helps me personally is if I do a period of time for no buy. That could be a week, a month, that I implement so well, and it's like the midterm steps that I can take of being consistent. Instead of buying 6 months nothing, just reduce it to less month or weeks even, because that gives you kind of the rewarding feeling of you accomplished something and you can keep being consistent with that system. Because that's something that I struggle with a lot in the beginning, with the consistency. And if I don't see the bigger picture, so to speak, easier or even faster, you lose or it fades kind of your motivation. So the more consistency and the more short-term goals I have that I can keep consistently, like I said now with that example with 1 month, like I buy nothing 1 month, then the next month I could buy. So in that way I have kind of the reflection in that month. If I see something that I like, I'm just holding on till the next month where I can buy it. And sometimes that can help you also with decisions and the temptation of consumption that you can reduce in that way. Easiest way that I can also give you is making things at home. With that, you can get so far. So overall, it's just you're being mindful and intentional of what you want to reduce in the money to make your saving goals easier to accomplish. I just want to summarize that for you again, just to have it in mind and a bit of refreshed. Step number 1, set a clear financial goal. Step number 2, track your money. And step number 3, categorize your savings mindfully. Yeah, that's already the 3 points that I had for you today. Thank you for your time. Have a good day. Bye.